I want to turn to the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. What is your view of this war?
I think when you call it a war, you're doing a disservice to the people who are having their limbs blown off by some of the most advanced technical weaponry on the planet. It is a genocide and it is disgusting. And it doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you fall on. When you observe a genocide in front of your very eyes, you should be disgusted.
Which side is waging genocide?
The Israelis are genociding the Palestinians, and you know it as well as everybody else does.
That.
Well, then it seems like your bosses are not allowing you to know it.
What do you think of what Hamas did on October the 7th?
Why are you starting the story in the middle?
I didn't. I just asked you about the wider war. I'm now asking you specifically about Hamas.
I cannot professionally answer that question without talking about the context that led up to October 7th.
Well, nothing, to my mind, justifies what happened on October the 7th.
Nothing justifies what happened before October the 7th, Piers. This is the exact point. So you're talking to a man, I don't know what answer you expect from me, because let's forget the fact I'm a Muslim. You're talking to a man who is fighting oppression to the best of his ability because he believes that the people in charge of the world are enslaving us all, to the point where I detriment my own life. I end up in a jail cell because I'm speaking against oppression. Then you're asking me what I would do if my family was blown to pieces?
You're not in a jail.
You're asking me what I would do if another government came along and blew my family to pieces?
You weren't put in a jail cell because of any oppression.
Absolutely I was.
No, you weren't.
Of course
you
I
were put in jail cell because you've been accused of serious sexual crimes.
I would not have been accused if I was not monumentally successful in speaking the truth.
Israel killed journalists. And then it didn't happen. It wasn't us. No, it was us. But it's an accident.
Let's talk about journalists, Bassem. Yeah, let's talk about journalists, by all means.
Don't interrupt me. Basha, don't interrupt me. Like, it's not us.
Let's talk about journalists, indeed, about Hamas.
Let's talk about journalists. Shut up. I didn't interrupt you. Shut the fuck up. So anyways, like you have like
don't
journalists.
Tell me to shut the fuck up and don't use that language with me, Mr. Bassem.
They have...
Don't use that language with me.
That language and you're killing people. Malish, I'm so sorry if my language is hurting your feeling. Again,
Malish, don't use that language with me. Try to keep it civilized. Do it for a second. Try to keep it civilized.
Civilized. Okay, حبيبي ماشي. المهم. Anyways, like let's talk about journalists. Like let's talk about journalists. How many times they killed journalists? Right? And how many times they denied it? Then say like it's Hamas. Like, it was not us. It was a mistake. We will investigate. And let's talk about journalists back. Let's talk about Asa Winstanley, a British journalist in London. His house was raided by British police for writing and exposing Israeli war crimes, for exposing their claims on October 7th, for exposing the rape hoax. He debunked the rape hoax. He exposed the Hannibal Directive. This is a guy sitting in London talking about a foreign country, and he was raided by British police. So I want to ask everybody who cares about freedom of expression, including you, Piers, like, shouldn't you be worried that one of your nationals, a British journalist, he shares your same profession, to be raided by London police and his equipment taken away for writing about a foreign country? What does this tell you about England? What does this tell you about Israel? What does this tell you about the so-called freedom of expression in the West?
Israel, you just made a blood libel against the Jewish state. Dresden was 1,000 Lancaster bombers over 2 nights. I am asking you, what is your source? The answer, okay, don't interrupt me, please. The answer is, Piers, it's my turn, correct?
Rabbi Shmuley, you can't ask someone a question and then refuse to let them answer.
So I asked for a source. I didn't ask for a question.
We've heard the question.
Absurd. I'm going to respond to what you are saying. This tactic of when anybody brings up anything that Israel is doing is wrong, you get to just scream blood libel and anti-Semitism.
Don't interrupt
Oh my gosh, it's a blood libel. It is not a blood libel to talk about the amount of death and the tons of explosives that have been dropped on the civilians in Palestine, okay? That is not a blood libel against Jewish people. This is such a nasty and perverted tactic, which essentially says, I don't have to debate anymore because I get to just call everybody a person who's accusing me of blood libels. Okay, truly, what is happening right now is that the blood of Palestinians is being shed. Okay, that is not a libel against the Jews. That is a fact and a reality against Bibi Netanyahu and this government, which has gone extreme in their response to October 7th.
So if you look to this graph, for example, this is the death of Israeli and Palestinians, and it's changing from 1 year to year. It's like fluctuating like crypto. So my question is today, what is the going rate today for human lives? I mean, 2014 was a great year for Ben Shapiro. 88 Israelis were died, and there was 2,329 Palestinians killed on the other side. That is 1 Israeli for 27 Palestinians. That is a very good exchange rate. What I'm saying is, what is the exchange rate for today? So you guys will be happy. That's my question.
Well, it's not me, guys. I'm not on either side.
No, not you. Like when I say you guys, I say like the people on the other side of that. I know that you don't think like that, Piers. You're one of the good guys. But let me tell you something. I mean, the reason that I'm using this is that, I mean, I can't remember what happened in 2014, and there was no music festival, but there must be something. I mean, they must do something. It is their fault. It has to be something. I mean, 2018, 300 Palestinians died. Who's counting, you know? So the thing is, what my question is, let's find what is the exchange rate for human life today, so we know, expect the future death of Palestinians, and we'll be happy to it.
John has been on the ground in Gaza, yeah, as an embed. I love it when John and Douglas Murray and these people say, oh, we've been on the ground in Gaza. Yeah, as guests of the Israeli military that's doing the killing, starving and maiming, and you've come back and done exactly what they wanted to do. You've done their propaganda for them. Journalists have not been allowed freely into Gaza. That's why every major media organization on planet Earth has said to the Israeli government, you must allow journalists in. The Palestinian journalists who are there have been killed in record numbers. Of course, Piers, you're right. They want to hide what they're doing. That's why they're killing the journalists there and blocking the journalists from coming in. This idea that he's been on the ground. Yeah, I did interview a doctor, a British plastic surgeon, Dr. Tom Patoka. And by the way, he wasn't in the European hospital because the hospital got bombed by Israel. So he was in another hospital, and he talked to me about how he has to treat patients who have maggots in their wounds. He has to treat patients without limbs. He has to treat children. I've interviewed multiple doctors on the ground in Gaza, actually in Gaza, not hanging around with Israeli military. And they've all said the same thing. American doctors, British doctors, Canadian doctors. They've all talked about how many kids they saw with sniper bullets to the head and chest. Israel does intentionally kill civilians. That's why Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant were indicted at the International Criminal Court for precisely those charges, for willful killing of Palestinians, for murder and persecution. That's why they've been indicted. That's why every human rights group in the world says war crimes are being committed. They've killed people holding white flags. We've seen it with our own eyes. They've bombed buildings without warning with families inside, like the Al Dos family that I often cite in October 2023. They've dropped 2,000-pound bombs on refugee camps full of hundreds of people. They have killed 7 aid workers in a clearly marked World Central Kitchen aid convoy. They've bombed World Food Programme convoys, leading to Cindy McCain, the wife of the most pro-Israeli senator of my lifetime, to come out and condemn Israel for attacking aid workers. John wants you to ignore Cindy McCain and British and American doctors and human rights groups and your own lying eyes watching people with white flags being gunned down. He wants you to believe him and his Israeli military minded.
And you have millions of followers.
You just said we shouldn't be allowed to.
You have a platform, but you also have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to be accurate. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I was 95% accurate, which is more accurate than the BBC's ever been about anything. Or you, for extension, most of the time. You've been wrong a whole bunch. Do you condemn Israel? Do you remember that? October 7th, do you condemn?
I did.
Condemn Israel and their genocide? Oh, it's about time. So I was right back then, and it took you 6 months to catch up. And you're going to see in 6 months.
No, you weren't right
I'm
back
still
then.
Right. If we don't,
you said,
I'm right. If we don't cure the disease, which is people feeling underrepresented by the political class, the symptoms, which is violence, are going to continue to prop up all around the country.
Fine, but
forever.
what you don't seem to want to accept,
sir.
Fine. What you don't seem
and what
to
you
want
don't
to
want to accept is that what you are saying is that the politicians are perfect and they've done nothing wrong, and the people have no good point of view. And that we should shut everyone up online and not let anyone talk.
Complete nonsense.
You are advocating for slavery for the population. That's what you're advocating.
On October 7th, we know that they had the intelligence on October 7th, the greatest intelligence agency in the whole world. And then, so why did they let it happen?
Spectacular failure.
No, it's not. It was a spectacular success for their mission to grab Gaza and the West Bank.
No, that's nonsense.
Nonsense, my ass. What are they doing now?
Bullshit.
So, Piers, will you admit that once they try to push the Palestinians out and take Gaza for themselves, that it was never about self-defense? It was always about stealing Palestinian land, which is what they have done over and over and over again since 1948.
Yeah, the idea that the Israelis knew what was going on. Hang on. Sorry, just to respond to that. The idea that the Israelis knew that October 7th was going to happen and deliberately allowed it to happen to their own people is preposterous.
Some people in the Israeli government who are literally terrorists like Ben-Gvir, absolutely. Netanyahu, I think, is literally the largest terrorist in the world right now. You're telling me Netanyahu wouldn't do that? Netanyahu lied us into the Iraq war. He talked about weapons of mass destruction. He talked about how they did 9/11 when, in fact, Saddam Hussein was opposed to al-Qaeda. So that giant liar that lied America into the Iraq war as part of the neocons wouldn't lie to his own people to protect himself from corruption charges, from protecting himself from a very, very unpopular leadership.
Well,
no, and to be able to have an excuse to steal more Palestinian land. That is exactly what Netanyahu has done.
Let me ask, hang on, Nadia, I'll come back
They should know that oppressing Palestinians would result in people defending themselves. They should know that. And I've said this on your show before. As long as there is oppression, there is going to be Palestinian resistance to it. As long as there's an occupation, apartheid, genocide, ethnic cleansing, Palestinians are going to take whatever means they have to defend themselves. We don't have an army because we don't have a state, because the U.S. and Israel continuously blocks that from happening. So yes, when Palestinian militias come together to defend themselves, they're going to be considered terrorist organizations because there is no means for us to be able to lawfully do that, which is exactly the situation that they created. So yes, they are going to expect that it's going to happen, whether they have the intelligence or not. But I do know that they had the intelligence. We do believe they had the intelligence to know that an attack like October 7th was imminent and that Palestinians are going to continue to resist regardless.
Okay, and do you think, for the record, that what Israel's been doing constitutes genocide?
Well, what I've been having trouble is all of the people that are pro-Israel and say it's not a genocide won't tell me what is a genocide. What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you. They won't tell you what constitutes genocide. So I would like a clear understanding of how many Palestinians have to die before we are allowed to term it a genocide. All of the experts can't agree on what a genocide actually is, but they love to float around the word on virtually every other issue. I had Rabbi Barclay on my show, on one of my last shows when I was on the Daily Wire, and I asked him that question pointedly: what is genocide? Let us know, experts, what percentage of the population of Palestinians has to be killed before we are allowed to say that it's genocide. What I can tell you is I am completely uncomfortable and utterly against the amount of Palestinian innocent lives that have been lost in this conflict, particularly children. And any person who is fearful of stating that the death of innocent children has been utterly unacceptable is a coward.
Are intentionally shooting at and killing desperate Palestinians as they're trying to get humanitarian aid from this Israeli-backed organization, which of course is able to even exist because they defamed UNRWA. They starved Palestinians for months. Shut up. They've starved Palestinians for months. And then as the Palestinians are desperate for food, they lure them in with this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and shoot at them. Upward of 200 people since late May have been shot at and killed by Israeli soldiers. Do not forget that. That's the heart of this story.
Right.
Let's not forget about the 232 journalists in Gaza that have been slaughtered by the IDF.
The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation even confirmed it was
you people
Hamas.
disgust me.
They confirmed
There's
it was
no
Hamas.
humanity in people like you, Emily. No humanity.
Intentionally lying and blaming the IDF.
I can't even handle your voice.
Is the one who is assuring that there's humanitarian aid.
I'm an Armenian.
There are 11
I know genocide when I see
meals
it.
that have been
You
distributed
are a
already.
defender of
11
genocide. You are a genocider and a defender of genocide.
Foundation.
Disgusting.
I know you don't like facts, Anna, but this is the reality. The only person who is threatening.
You're a liar. You lied.
I'm a liar.
Yes, and you said, no, Biden didn't do that. Yes, he did on day one.
Do you know he handed out more licenses to Trump? Do you know that?
I'm making the point that you denied. My point is true.
Destiny said energy's higher, and you said no. So if anyone lied, you did.
Listen.
People can DVR it, they can rewind it and see you saying a false statement.
Let me ask you.
So you don't energy production higher. Is energy production higher today?
You don't think that Biden
is energy production higher under Biden than Trump?
And you just
is
lied
energy production
and
higher,
said
Sarah Palin? It's a very simple question. I know facts are not your strong point. Is energy production higher today under Biden than under Trump? It's a simple yes or no question.
You're an obnoxious.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Are Americans wrong when they have this feeling? Well, the feelings
I'm obnoxious because I asked you if energy production is higher today than under Trump.
You're obnoxious because I'm asking you why you would say that Biden
I'm obnoxious.
didn't thwart.
You're a racist. We want to play that game? You said Obama is not born in America. He's not one of us.
I said that?
Yeah, you said Trump is doing a great job asking for his birth certificate. You said he's not one of us. You said he jives and schmucks. Should we go down the record? You're going to call me obnoxious? Why don't you talk about your racism?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about your racism?
Why do you change yourself?
Why
are you stuttering?
I'm not stuttering.
You are stuttering. You don't have anything
You're contesting every single thing that I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
and I'm saying
the point of
at the end, 1,300 people were brutally
2,000
murdered,
people have been killed on the other side.
Abused.
2,000 people have been killed on the other side.
I said that to the ambassador.
Okay, but do you condemn that, yes or no?
I don't think
so. You refuse to condemn?
No.
You do refuse to condemn.
Why are you putting words in my mouth?
Because you're not condemning it, are you?
What do you want me to condemn?
Okay, excellent. What do I want you to condemn?
Yes.
I want you to condemn the fact that the IDF, knowing that it's more probable than not, pressing buttons from the sky, killing innocent civilians, 1,000 of them children, that is a war crime and that is not acceptable morally. Just like you condemn the other one. Is it condemnable or not?
I believe, given the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th, Israel is entitled to
kill children.
Shoot at people as they're waiting in line for humanitarian aid. Dozens of people get shot and killed literally every single day as they're waiting for food. No, I'm not going to let you filibuster, bitch. I'm not going to let you filibuster. I'm not going to let you filibuster. You guys are totally okay with IDF soldiers shooting and killing desperate people waiting for humanitarian aid. You're okay with that. I find it so unbelievably evil. Unbelievably evil. It shocks my conscience and my soul that people as evil as this exist in this world. Okay? Watching these images, looking at these videos, seeing all these kids, desperate, hungry, parentless, trapped in Gaza. And you're sitting here and you're defending it. I can't stand it. I can't listen to it. The filibustering is unbearable. It's unbearable.
And what
it's unbearable. I can't take it. How can you watch all those kids die?
Okay, let me bring Gideon back in here.
Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Sorry, I'm an independent
Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
of the English bar.
Yes or no?
That's a good question.
I'm not instructed.
Yes or no?
I'm
yes
not
or no,
instructed.
Natasha? Do they
Does
have
Israel have
nuclear
nuclear weapons, Natasha?
Why do you think I would know any better than you, Piers?
What's the name of your company?
No one said you do. You do know. You
What's the
are
name of your
not telling the
organization?
truth, and so you won't say it.
Well,
But hang on.
Here,
Piers. Well, let me just say, it's disqualifying to this conversation. You're playing a different game than me and Piers are. We're having a conversation about what's actually going on. You're a lawyer who's not allowed to incriminate your client, which is Israel, because you know the answer the same way Piers knows it, the same way I know it. Do they have nukes?
Let me be perfectly clear. I am not in the employ of anyone associated.
What's the name of your
with
organisation?
UK Lawyers for Israel began as a voluntary association of lawyers looking for the proper application of law to Israel, Israelis, and combating anti-Semitism. It is truly remarkable. We are having a different conversation. This is a circus, and I am actually seeking...
Deliberately targeting children. There was a boy who entered the zone. He didn't do anything. Other soldiers claimed to have seen him standing, talking to people. That's it. And they dropped a grenade from a drone. In another incident, soldiers tried to kill a child riding a bicycle.
And they get prosecuted
So they have not been prosecuted. Alan, don't lie on television where people can fact check. None of them have been prosecuted.
Yes, they have been.
Which soldier?
I know they have been.
Which soldier was prosecuted for dropping a grenade on a child?
There are dozens of them
on national TV. Piers Morgan can come back on the next episode and tell everyone that you're not telling the truth.
Dozens of them have been prosecuted.
Not a single Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child. That is a lie. A demonstrable lie. Everyone watching right now. I'm sorry, you can't say things.
Hang on, just to be clear, Alan. What many
I am able to read out the names of the 20 Palestinian journalists that have been killed in Gaza.
Because I have 2 more guests.
So you're censoring me.
8 minutes for them. We have 4 left.
It's 20 journalists. So I'm being censored now. And I'll tell you something else.
You're not being censored.
This badge, zoom in on this badge. This badge was given to me by an employee of this building who said they were told they could not wear this badge because it was the Palestinian flag. You talk about uncensored. This is censored. This badge was banned from an employee in this building.
I have told nobody they can or can't wear a badge.
Not the alleged ethnic cleansing of Palestine happened decades before Hamas was even created.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that Hamas should stay in power in Gaza?
I'm not here to talk about political organizations. No, I don't care about these questions because my people are being ethnically cleansed. Because I see the faces of 2,500 Palestinian children on social media every day, charred, mutilated, having chemical weapons against them. So this is going to be my priority on this show, just like any Palestinian around the world is speaking up for our cause.
You will also stop using babies as human shields. Stop making
the most densely populated region in the world.
Yeah, but you will also know
2.3 million Palestinians. Half of them are homeless.
Let me respond to you.
This is a ridiculous argument.
My question is whether you...
And if you ever dare oppose us, we will kill your women and children. It's disgusting.
They're not in prison.
It's not what Israel was meant to do.
I'd urge you again, Cenk, leave your bedroom sometime and come to this region, see it for yourself.
Hey, I thought I was supposed to get the last word. This idiot's talking about bedrooms. Hey, you care about the babies. You care about the women. Douglas, why don't you admit you don't care about dead Palestinian babies, dead Palestinian women, because you don't mind it. Israel. You say right or wrong, no matter how many people they have murdered, no matter how many kids they have crushed to death, you don't care because you don't care about human beings. All you want is some sort of warmongering, Israeli state, U.S. state, etc.
All right, neocon, war hawk. I've got to wrap it up. I've got to say, listen, I think we actually had a very...
You're super evil. You don't mind the deaths of all those thousands of people.
Let's not
evil warmongering.
Since October the 7th. Hezbollah's first response, October the 7th, was to unleash rockets on Israel on October the 8th.
That's not true. That's not true.
That is what happened.
Where did they fire the first rocket?
They fired rockets on the 8th.
Where?
Well, you tell me.
No, you just said they fired at Israel. Where?
Well, they fired in the direction of Israel.
Where did they hit? They fired at the Sheba Farms.
Tell me.
I do. They fired at the Sheba Farms, which, as I said earlier, is an area of Syria. Well, the Lebanese claim it's Lebanon. Syria claims it's Lebanon. Israel says no and is occupying the Sheba Farms. They fired at Israeli military installations in the Sheba Farms. Now, have they got fired in Israel?
So they were firing at Israel. They were firing at an area that Israel says is theirs.
No, Israel doesn't say that. Israel says it's Syria's. Because remember, Israel is occupying Syria and the West Bank and Gaza. And Lebanon would argue parts of Lebanon. This is the problem, right? The core of the problem is Israel's territorial expansionism.
It's a mess.
Attacks, not a mess. It's Israel occupying multiple Arab lands, which leads to quote-unquote resistance or quote-unquote terrorism, whichever word. I don't care what word you want to use right now. But that is the core, right? You had John Mearsheimer on the show this week, made the same point. Deal with the occupation, then you deal with the violence.
Hamas did what they did. 2 things. 1, Hamas knew exactly what Israel's response would be. They knew they would come incredibly hard back.
I don't absolve them.
Wait a minute. I'm not absolving anybody.
I'm not absolving them.
Yeah, okay.
I'm saying the West Bank is West Hamas.
I know.
Hamas.
You have to let me answer.
You got 44 children killed like this in the West Bank.
This is ridiculous.
Wait a minute, Rubbish. Let me just answer you quickly.
Go ahead.
I believe Israel has a right to defend itself from after that terror attack.
But can they kill children?
Wait a minute.
Can they?
Wait a minute. Particularly after the Hamas spokesman only last week said that they want to do this again and again and again. That's an existential threat to Israel.
Why don't they fight them man to man? Man to man. Fight them man to man. Why do you have to kill children?
Wait a minute. Let me answer you, Mohammed.
Why?
Let me answer you.
Of a ratio of 100 to 1, by the way.
Let me answer you.
100 to 1 ratio.
Let me answer you.
Go ahead.
Otherwise, it's pointless.
Go ahead.
So, I agree that Israel must defend itself. I agree they have to get rid of Hamas because Hamas is wedded to an ideology of existentially removing Israel.
Is this acceptable?
Wait a minute. I'm coming to your answer.
Is this acceptable?
I'm coming to your answer.
This is not.
This is not even a conversation.
Unfortunately, in war, civilians
100
get
to 1
killed.
ratio. 100 to 1 ratio.
Yes.
100 to 1 ratio.
Yes, they get killed.
No, not 100 to 1 ratio. It's an unacceptable ratio.
Your government is starving 2.2 million people right now. You're starving the babies, you monster.
Torturing the Gaza
Why don't you
people?
stop? You're the terrorist.
10,000 people came to his funeral
Your
when his
governments are
body was
terrorists
dragged
that are
through
trying
the
to kill
streets
2
of
million
Gaza.
people right
His
now.
parents
Stop
received his body
starving babies,
with a
you
noose around
terrorists.
his neck and his
You're
underwear.
sick.
And
You're
all of those
deranged.
people, 5 were killed, and dozens
stop with
and
your
dozens of them have
propaganda.
gone missing.
You know who's the worst
But
terrorist
you
in the
would
world?
decide to keep
Netanyahu.
Hamas in power. And the reason is you've never been on the ground.
This
you
is
support
you know why I
David
yell on
Duke.
this program?
You're an
Because guys
anti-Semite
like
at your
this do
core.
nonstop
You care nothing
propaganda,
else about
and they
the
won't
Muslim
stop
world. You
talking.
don't care about
They
women's
talk
rights.
over everyone
You call
else.
blacks
If you're going
by
to
the
talk over
N-word.
everyone
You
else,
support
I'm going to
David
talk
Duke.
over you.
You've never been
You've
on the
starved
ground.
more
All you
people
do is
than
spend every day
anyone else
attacking
in the
Israel.
world. Israel has killed more journalists than anyone else in the world. You're not going to talk over me. You've got these people that are
This is coming
starving,
from
and
the
Hamas
man
did not make
that
that decision.
talks to
Hamas is
David
terrible.
Duke, calls
Israel made that
blacks by
decision.
the N-word,
But whenever you start
calls
talking about
Jews
Israel,
by the
guys like
J-word,
this
and
come on
doesn't respect
shows
women.
and
Jake,
never
why should we
stop
believe
talking.
Don't talk over each other because no one can hear it.
Israeli propaganda, and I'm sick of it.
All right. You
Okay?
seem to have a very clear idea, Israel, of how many Hamas terrorists you've killed. You've said the number, but you have absolutely no idea how many children have died in the process. I simply ask you why. Why do the lives of the Hamas terrorists get recorded,
listen to me.
but you don't record the number of children you
I'm
killed?
willing here to give you the strategy about the war because this was the question you were asking.
Why don't you answer my question?
I'm giving you only the answers that I have.
Just tell me why you know one number and not the other.
But the number makes a difference just if you're targeting civilians. If Israel is not targeting civilians, according to the international law...
It doesn't make any difference to the number of children who've died.
It does
have
a difference according to the international humanitarian law.
How do you know about the number of terrorists killed, but you don't know how many children have been
killed?
How do you know one, not the other? Explain to me. Treat me like a village idiot. Why is it that you know one number, but you don't know the other?
According to the international humanitarian law, it makes a lot of difference if you're targeting civilians, or if you're targeting the legitimate war aims.
I'm not talking about who you're targeting. I'm not saying you're deliberately targeting the children who've been killed.
Very good. So that's the only thing that we are discussing here.
No, it's not. Because you know how many terrorists you've killed, you say, but you have no idea how many children. Because those are the people we targeted. So how many children have died in the process? Why don't you know that number too?
Piers, please ask this question to the people that can give you the answer. I don't have the answer.
Who has the answer?
Please don't ask me questions.
Who has the answer? Who has the answer?
I don't have the answer. And I will tell you something.
The Israeli ambassador to my country. Who else should I ask?
Well,
Nobody believes you, Israel. Nobody believes you. Nobody likes you. No matter how much media covers for you, no matter how much politicians you buy to parrot your talking points, no matter how many fake influencer you hire to whitewash your face, no matter how many fake Indian-based accounts that tweet for you, no matter how many European models you bring in and you pay them so they can dance with the IDF uniform, right? That everybody can see you, everybody can smell your bullshit, right? You are like the neighbor who firebombs everybody's house and he's sad why he's not invited to a house party, right? You will win in the battlefield. You will get more land because America supports you. It's like supporting a rabid dog that shits on your lawns and eats your cats and bites everybody, and it's like, oh, he's just like you have a bad day. You will win, maybe on the battlefield, but everybody knows who you are. A bunch of heartless, psychopathic, demonic assholes.
With the Israeli ambassador, she did say here on this seat, that they provided the whole south of Gaza as a safe zone, and they are building shelters to Palestinian civilians. She told you that.
And I said
Did you challenge her?
I said
did you challenge her?
I challenged her like this.
No, you did not challenge her. You did not challenge her. Let me tell you, my sister. I'll tell you, my sister.
She denied there was a humanitarian crisis.
She did.
I said there was.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You started that conversation with her with showing and outpouring emotions. Good for you.
Yes.
About the mothers. Why didn't you start with me about the thousands of mothers, grandmothers?
I literally read that.
With me.
Well, ambassador.
This is the asymmetry. This is the asymmetry.
Ambassador.
That she lied.
There's no asymmetry.
She lied with you.
Let me be clear.
And she said that the south of Gaza is safe. You know how many people were killed in the south of Gaza only in the last 48 hours? You know that my sister now, she lives in the south of Gaza.
I know.
And you're following my Twitter. Look at my nephew, Ammar.
That's right.
You saw Ammar.
Yes.
You saw what happened to Ammar.
Yes.
They live in the south. So an Israeli official sits here and tells the world that the south of Gaza is safe and people should go there en masse, therefore ethnically cleansing these people to the south to actually slaughter them. And then you, Piers, do not look her in the eye and tell her, stop lying.
What we can't see in Gaza is anything because the journalists aren't allowed in.
There's no... Yes, and if the journalists were allowed in and they got killed, you'd say Israel's killing journalists. So you can't win, can you?
What do you think of the aggressive expansion of settlements on the West Bank since the war started?
I reject the premise of that, and I'll tell you why.
But you think it's fine?
Let me ask you a question.
Do you support the expansion? I've had Jewish guests who have condemned it.
There's no occupation.
She said there's no
occupation.
Do you think these expansions are fine?
I want to answer the question.
Are they justified?
I want to answer the
yes
question.
or no?
Oslo.
Give me yes or no.
Split.
I'm not interested in Oslo.
Oslo split. No, because the whole premise of
I'm
the
asking
question...
you a simple question, Fleur. Has the expansion of settlements in the West Bank since the start of this war been justified, yes or no?
94%
yes or no?
of Palestinians
yes or no?
are living under their own
yes or no,
autonomy
Fleur?
in Judea
yes or
and
no?
Samaria.
Is it justified?
What do you mean?
Is it justified?
Of course, we're justified. We are building communities. There are communities
You're
in Judea and Samaria.
forcing people out of their homes.
Nobody's been forced out of their
illegally.
homes. Have you ever looked at Area C?
International law says you're breaking the law.
There's no homes. There's desert. It's the Judean desert.
The effort that I put to save human lives, and you cannot reduce that into some propaganda because
why
it's
on
not.
earth would I
It's not
respect you
about
for
Israel,
putting
it's
the
about
leader of Fatah, Mossab? You put the most unifying, popular Palestinian figure. You are credited to putting him in prison. This is someone who would win an election against Hamas. He is a peace activist. He was fighting for a two-state solution. This isn't about Hamas, and you know it. This is about you shutting down, tamping down on all factions of Palestinian society. And let's be clear, what is Palestine supposed to do? What are Palestinians supposed to do when in 2018, thousands of Palestinians in Gaza marched peacefully to this fortified perimeter fence that Israeli snipers have authorized themselves to shoot, to kill, and that's exactly what they did. They massacred over 200 peaceful demonstrators, medics, press, journalists, clearly marked press, disabled people in wheelchairs, and children. These are all violations of international law and the Geneva Convention. Israeli snipers perched up behind sand dunes picked people off one by one in a methodical slaughter over the course of several months. That's when Palestinians tried to peacefully protest. So I think the question should be, what should Palestinians do? Because they're not even allowed to advocate for their legal rights. They're not even allowed to raise up a Palestinian flag. I visited a place called...
Identified Anas al-Sharif as a Hamas commander, and they have used that as the justification for directly targeting him. Now, before I go to Yotam, just to be clear, if he had been a Hamas commander, in other words, involved in Hamas, in combative operations, would you accept he would have been a legitimate target? It's a hypothetical, but would you accept that if in that context he had been a Hamas commander and that was established as a fact, would you accept that it was a legitimate strike?
Piers, if you don't mind, because if we go into hypotheticals, it's never ending. Al Jazeera abides by Ofcom. It is a multi-award-winning institution that has been acknowledged for its brave journalism, its award-winning journalism, be it the RTS awards that we've won on numerous occasions, Emmys, Peabodys, and so forth. Anas al-Sharif is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who risked his life in the face of the most barbaric military ever to be seen in modern history over the past 22 months. What we should be discussing and what people should be looking at is how on earth we have allowed for ourselves to normalize a discussion around the targeted assassination of a 28-year-old father of two who all he did was stand in front of a camera and tell people what was going on. The basis and the premise of journalism is to speak truth to power, is to report that which those in power do not want reporting. Right now, those in power have made us believe that the premise of reporting is to take for granted what they said in some sort of subconsciously racist way because his name is Anas al-Sharif and not John Smith, that there is some sort of possible plausible justification for murdering him in cold blood in the evening in a flimsy hospital tent outside a burnt-out hospital. And that is what the public of the world knows now, even though the media is still slow to catch up, that this is a disgraceful lie that nobody is willing to stand for ever again.
How can they defend themselves? If their mission now is to get rid of Hamas, a terror organization that's committed one of the worst acts of terror ever seen, if that is their stated aim, then what they are doing is consistent with that, isn't it?
No, really quickly. You said Israel has a right to defend itself. Absolutely zero people think that this is a ridiculous statement. However, how Israel is defending itself is collective punishment. Now, collective punishment in the form of depriving 2.2 million people of electricity, collective punishment in the form of depriving them of water, of food, collective punishment of in the form of 51 people dying in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas in the West Bank, and killing 3,480 Palestinians so far in Gaza, 1,000 plus children out of all of those casualties, 22 hospitals being bombed, of horrifying crimes that you would openly say are horrifying and unjustifiable when Russia does it, but when Israel does it, Israel has a right to defend itself. This is identical to the same talking points that I've heard from every Israeli administration official. It's the same talking.
Parents, I just read on CNN, are writing the names of the kids on their calves, on their legs, so that if they are killed in a bombing and they're mutilated, they could find their bodies. Imagine writing the name of your child on their legs so that you could find them in the rubble after Israel or any government drops a bomb on them. And I need the West to understand something. Bombs kill people. And do you know how they kill people? They incinerate them alive. Or their heads explode.
You apply international law. You allow the United Nations to do its job. When the Hamas situation happened, for example, it was supposed to be the Red Cross to go and negotiate. Israel is stopping all of that. On top of that, it's also terrorizing the media. On top of that, it's also terrorizing individuals. On top of that, it has money being poured in from the United States. On top of that, it has the backing of the European Union. On top of that, it has the backing of Britain that started this whole farce. So what ends up happening is who's speaking for the Palestinian people. So for a solution to happen, you need to empower the United Nations so that Israel is not making a mockery of the United Nations. How am I needing to reiterate this more and more? I am giving you a solution.
Rahma, you're giving me your solution.
And you're still telling me how women in labor are having to give birth at checkpoints. If you're having people imprisoned, if you're having this merciless bombardment of Palestinians, you are going to breed Hamas. It starts with the stronger party.
We have to defend ourselves against people who say our only goal in life is to eradicate Israel and kill all the Jews who live there and build a Sharia-based state in Palestine. Yeah. Those are their words. So, I don't know how you think that you could defend yourself against it, but being nice isn't one of them.
You live in La La Land, where you say the Palestinians might prevent an Israeli state. Well, Israel exists, but you prevent a Palestinian state, take away all their freedom, you take away all their rights, you kill them wantonly anytime you want, you destroy all of Gaza, and you pretend not to be the terrorists. So let me ask you something. Is the IDF the most incompetent military in the history of the world, that they just accidentally killed over 30,000 civilians, including over 25,000 women and children in Gaza? Are they buffoons who just cannot ever get the right target? Oh, we got a couple of Hamas guys. Oops, we killed a stadium full of women and children.
Listen,
and you're pretending not to be a terrorist?
Before I answer your question, I think there's something that your audience has to know about Musab, who's on this program, if we can see if he's going to be able to control his temper and keep me from telling the audience this about him, is the fact that he calls every Muslim in the world untrustworthy, says you can't trust any Muslim, says everybody who identifies as Muslim is a predator, compares Muslims to animals, and the list goes on and on and on. And Piers, I think both of us know that if anybody engaged in that kind of bigotry towards, say, Jews, you would not give them airtime to appear on a program as if they're a real analyst who's here with something to say. And on top of these deeply bigoted views that he holds, there's also the fact that he is simply just not a serious person, puts on this really dumb put-on angry face and barks incredibly shallow slogans about Israel being wonderful and its opponents being terrible and terrorists and so on. It's not really a real point of analysis.
Should Israel leave Hamas 80% intact? Is that good for anybody?
No. So now we get to the absurdity of what Israel says. We are going to stay there until all of Hamas is gone. How? How do we know if they're all gone? How do we know if they've surrendered? How do we know if the Palestinians have turned on Hamas? These are all impossible standards meant to eradicate Gaza entirely. And in fact, they've almost done it already. 90% of the people in Gaza are homeless. We're picking out the body parts of family members every single day in Gaza. It is one of the, and now even the New York Times and every human rights group acknowledges this is one of the worst massacres, the biggest war crimes committed in our lifetimes. Bottom line is, Israel is starting a much larger regional war, and
Israel is starting on the 7th of October.
I guarantee you that Jonathan is going to come on here. You're not going to talk over me. I guarantee you, Jonathan comes on here and says, America must pay for it. America must die for Israel. That's what he's going to say.
You can scream until tomorrow. You don't impress me even a millimeter. Hezbollah attacked Israel.
Okay, then we can both talk at the same time. Okay, let's talk at the same time.
We did not attack Hezbollah.
America, he wants you to attack the whole Middle East. He wants you to attack all Muslims.
That is the only thing that happens. And by the way, have you ever heard of the Radwan force? Do you know what they're designed to do? They're designed to invade into Israel and do exactly what Hamas did on October the 7th. That is the main reason why Israel cannot live with Hezbollah deployed on the border.
Gentlemen, I've got to leave it there.
You are starting a war.
Well, I think a war has been being waged actually for quite some time, and we'll see how this now plays out. But clearly,
Piers,
don't I think if you are a terror group who persistently fires rockets at a country, you are at war with them. Right? I mean, you may not think you are, but you are.
I don't want to fight it. I don't want America to fight it, and I don't want America to pay for it. Jonathan, do you agree? You said, hey, if you're not Palestinian or Israeli, Hezbollah should have nothing to do with it. Iran, no other country should have anything to do with it. Great, then you're on your own. Don't ask for another dollar. Give us the $26 billion back. Why are you using our money to start giant wars in the Middle East?
Listen to what I'm saying, and you will understand perhaps what I'm trying to imply
very patronizing.
Here. Utilizing the hostages. Yeah, I am being patronizing. I don't know who the fuck you are, and you're over here chirping all the way from fucking London about Palestine and doing a both sides are fucking fine type bullshit. Where you're talking about how you want to fucking free Palestine, but also simultaneously, both sides got a lot going on. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything, okay? I don't give a shit about what your perspective is.
Hassan doesn't like what you have to say, so you're wrong. It's Hassan's way or the highway.
I mean, you are. There is no both sides on a genocide. Is there a both sides on a genocide? There is no both sides.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting you should mention the hostages.
What is the Hamas charter? They want a Jewish genocide, but that's okay. But a Jewish genocide is okay.
If you're talking about the well-being of the if you're talking about the well-being of the hostages, what sense did it make for the IDF to flatten about 70% of Gaza? Because I completely agree. Bring the hostages home. If you look at Gaza, the topography of Gaza right now, it looks like a pancake. So I'm sorry, this whole argument of Hamas using them as human tools, fine, but the IDF has also been using it to continue that campaign. If you were told that if, God forbid, if your relative was one of the hostages and you saw what's happening right now, and I met someone whose mother was a hostage, and he said he didn't want his mother and her being taken to be used in the name of violence. Right now, he's sitting at home wondering, okay, what is the logic of trying to bring my mother home when you flattened Gaza? Please explain that to us.
And when you have a religion that says it's okay to steal from other people as long as they're not Jewish, when you have a religion that says it's okay to rape people that aren't Jewish, when you have a religion that talks about having sex with, kids that are under 3 years old, when you have a religion that promotes these things and promotes supremacy, I think you're going to have problems. And you see that in Israel. Israel is a manifestation of that religion. And I think that religion is, it's terrible. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in Jewish supremacy. I don't believe in supremacy at all. And right now, I think you have massive Jewish supremacy.
You sound like a Nazi.
I mean, why do you say that?
That's literally what Nazis would have said in World War II. They would have literally articulated their hatred of Jewish people and the reasons why in exactly the way you've just done.
I don't have a hatred for Jewish people.
You do.
I don't like a religion that says that they're better than other people. And what's that?
Well, you do. You obviously do. It's blatant. No one watching this will draw any other conclusion. I'm staggered about how brazen you've been.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't like it when people think they're better than other people. And you see that in Israel, and they're acting like that. And they're treating Palestinians like second-class citizens. They're treating them.
What is your view of Jewish people, of Judaism?
Yeah.
For the record, what's your view?
My view is that, Judaism is a faith. Israel is a state, and it is not above critique, and that what Bibi Netanyahu has done to the Palestinians since October 7th is a Holocaust. It is a Holocaust that is being committed on Palestinian children and women. And I'm not going to quiet my perspective on that, to kowtow to whatever the prevailing narrative is of the New York Post.
And the amount of disrespect these people have to go through. The fact that at one point in the West Bank, a settler can just walk into your home, waltz into your home, destroy your home, take it, and be backed by a soldier. The utter disrespect of having so much injustice. There was this one Palestinian who said, our heart breaks every day over 100 times. What on earth? How is this sustainable? This is the longest siege on any place in history.
Okay, let me ask Mossad.
Of course you're going to have a 7th of October. Of course you're going to have resistance.
Actually, nothing. Here's my problem. I'm going to go to Mossad. The UK said to me, do you think what's been happening with these settlements, expansions in the last year on the West Bank, is that terrorism? I said, yes. It is. To me, it's what's been happening. It's terrorism.
So Israel is committing daily terrorism every single day.
I agree. On the West Bank,
and
I think
at a certain point, something had to give. And it's terrible. Something had to give. Again, if you treat people like animals, they behave as animals.
So how do we get?
I don't know. Do we expect the Palestinians to sit down as well-behaved victims while they're being killed? Well, they should be slaughtered while not making noise. That's impossible.
But who should bring Palestine out of this?
I don't know, because all of the Nelson Mandelas are either killed or in jail.
Should it be other Arab countries?
I don't know.
Some people talk about a coalition of UAE, of Saudi.
I don't have a solution. I don't have a solution, Piers.
Really? Have you not thought about it?
I'm not having a solution because the solution is very difficult and complicated when Israel is doing what it's doing and having all of the support of the Western media and the Western government.
What should America be doing?
Get off the phone and say stop. As easy as it is. But they don't.
That the Israeli Air Force have managed to inflict this kind of catastrophic damage on military commanders, nuclear scientists, nuclear sites, and all of this, and have control of the airwaves in Tehran. Well, and the only response so far has been a few missiles that have got past the dome.
Missiles?
You say they've been pounding them. They've not been pounding
Have you seen
Israel.
Haifa?
They've not been pounding Israel.
You are astounded. This is something else you don't know. You didn't know about Marandi. You didn't know about the TV station.
I knew what Marandi told me. I knew what Marandi told me.
Israel.
I knew what Professor Marandi told me.
Just to be clear, you don't know about it.
Just to be
I'll
clear,
tell you who I believe.
Just to be clear
about belief.
Just to be clear,
I believe the mayor of Tel Aviv.
Sorry, if I may finish responding to you.
Can I quote an Israeli? I believe the mayor of Tel Aviv, a former director of intelligence in the Israeli army, now the elected mayor of Tel Aviv, who says this has got to stop. We cannot win this war. That's the mayor of Tel Aviv. I can believe him.
I see zero
evidence of Israeli Jews. 82% support a forced expulsion from Gaza.
That's not the same as genocide. That may be true. That may be true, but that's not genocide. That's not genocide. What you said before about genocide is total nonsense.
Opposition in Israel described Israeli soldiers as killing children as a hobby in Gaza. Now, yes, he took it back. He took it back after he came under ferocious attack. But he himself acknowledged When I debated Mr. Morris about a year ago, and I said that Israel targets children, he laughed. He thought it was such a funny remark by me.
Can I just say, but to you, Hamas doesn't control the West Bank. Facts, please. But to you, every Palestinian is a terrorist. You don't care about the women. You don't care about the children. You don't care about the majority of people that have been killed are civilians. To you, it's all terrorists. This is the okay, but I can judge you by. Can I just finish? I didn't say a word.
Can you let him finish his point? You can't keep talking over him, Fleur. Let him finish his point.
First of all,
well, he listened to you, so let him speak.
This is what I say is she represents the general psychopathy of the Israeli government, where they come on television and they think the rest of the world actually is like them, that they don't see Palestinians as humans, and they say these talking points. And Piers, sometimes when you invite me to debate, I sit here and go, I don't have to say a word, because they're undermining themselves and their own cause in front of the global stage right now. I mean, the fact that she knows, but like somehow magically they're all terrorists, but when you ask them repeatedly, well, how can you not know how many civilians there are? And they say, well, we don't know.
Dead already. I know. How many more are there going to be before this is over? How many more wholly innocent Palestinian children are going to be killed because of Israeli military policy?
Answer my question.
A ceasefire means a ceasefire.
I don't think this is a good PR strategy. I know that you view this as your job to do PR for the government of Israel, but ultimately, this is not a productive strategy to deny reality that everybody can see.
There is no restriction on humanitarian aid to Gaza. You keep repeating this. I'm sorry.
This is absurd. You are lying through your teeth.
You're incorrect.
You are lying through your teeth.
Emily, why do 100... Emily, if there is no issue with the distribution of food inside the Strip, why are...
There is an issue with distribution. There's no limitation or restriction on the humanitarian aid.
Hang on, let me repeat. 100 agencies, more than 100, have collectively warned mass starvation is spreading, and they have accused Israel, not Hamas, of not allowing food inside the Strip to be distributed. Why would over 100 aid agencies lie?
It is incorrect. I had it confirmed from multiple sources to know I'm not.
Myself, like, it's not a moral quandary for me, and it's not a moral quandary for millions of people around the world. Like, we're sat here and I'm putting headless children and I'm handing them over to mothers and they're hugging them and they're putting them into body bags. When we have a mass casualty event, I'm stepping over children as they're bleeding out to death on the floor because I know we don't have the medical equipment to treat them. When I'm trying to use an ultrasound machine to do a scan on someone, the cords have been cut because Israeli soldiers have cut the cords of ultrasound machines. I've had family members who have died because the dialysis machines are filled with bullet holes. So, you know, just to put it into context, the first 24 days of this conflict, 1,900 children were killed in the first 24 days. That's more than any other conflict anywhere around the world in a whole year, and in this tiny population of Gaza. And I think anybody like me or any Palestinians, or anyone really that knows the situation, they knew what was coming, and we knew what was happening when they were calling, you know, them human animals and Amalek. And
was there in Washington telling him it'll be just great if you take out Saddam Hussein. It's going to topple all the rest of the governments. The idea was, incidentally, that Saddam would be toppled and then the U.S. military would go right into Syria right away. But then an insurgency trapped the United States inside Iraq so that the Syrian war was actually delayed 8 years. But what we're watching is this crazy Netanyahu idea of regional war so that Israel can have its greater Israel, as they call it. In other words, everything is to stop the Palestinian cause, and the U.S. keeps being involved in these wars. And there was Jake Sullivan again today explaining, terrorists, who cares about terrorists? We're toppling Assad. And this is again for the Israel lobby, basically.
But look, you're blaming Israel for all of it, and fine, that's your view. Many people would say, no, it's...
I'm blaming Netanyahu in particular.
Do you think Hamas is evil? I think killing innocent civilians is evil. And I'm willing to say it when it's Hamas who did it on October 7th, and I'm willing to say it when it's our government funding the genocide in the Gaza Strip. There's a difference between intentional terroristic killing, which is what Hamas did, and trying to negotiate peace with terrorists, which is what Israeli leaders are doing. What makes you think that the Israelis are intentionally negotiating peace? There is no sign of that whatsoever. There is none at all. Only safe place in the Middle East where you have basic human rights in Israel. Clay, do you think that just all of the Gaza Strip being turned into rubble, churches, mosques, hospitals, terrorists, all being destroyed? Oh, it's just an accident. It's just an accident. Places as they can. Hamas is to blame for all of this. Please, please, this is so tired. No one believes this anymore.
Let me jump in.
Your own party doesn't believe this
anymore. Let me jump in.
Half of the population of Gaza is children. 70% are refugees who were expelled from Israel in 1948 and their descendants. 70% of Gaza's youth have no jobs, no future, no nothing. They are Susan Boyle times 10,000, never given a chance And as things looked the night before October 7th, when the question of Gaza was disappearing from the public stage, I will admit to you, Piers, I myself have given up on Gaza. In 2020, I decided it's hopeless, it's pointless.
And this is all the members of the family who were killed.
These are all your members of your family?
Of the family on the 7th. They became piles, their bodies. This is my niece who was killed. This is her body. This my niece who was engineering, graduated. She was found under the rubble. This is my niece. She is a medical doctor. She was supposed to start her specialty. This, my cousin. This is my nephew, who is a physiotherapist, and he was killed. This is my niece's daughter, and that's what we want to see. These people, they have names, they have faces, and that's what is needed. This is my daughter Bisan, who was killed 16th of January 2009, who said, to meet violence with violence doesn't solve any problem. There is an alternative way. It's not by action and reaction. It's by being a human and behaving and thinking of others. This is Mayar and Aya. Even my niece, she named her daughter Aya after my daughter. Aya was killed also. These daughters, I raised them to be human, to be advocate for human. I sent them to peace camps. And she said to me—
With Israelis?
With the Israelis. And she said to me, I found how similar are we. We are similar, but we need to be equal. We need to be free. We need to appreciate the dignity, the freedom of all. Does the life, I want to ask you, does the life of the Palestinians matter as equal to the Israelis or not?
Yes. Caveat to this, if you think about it from the Israeli perspective, you've got 35,000 Hamas terrorists, and we'll come to whether you think they're terrorists or not in a moment, but you've got 35,000 Hamas soldiers, warriors, terrorists, whatever description you want to call them, depending on whose side you're on. And they are embedded amongst a civilian population where half that population is under 18. How else do you get rid of Hamas if you don't go about it in the blunt, brutal manner that Israel is doing? And if you do it the way they're doing it, how do you avoid the kind of casualty rate of people under 18, given that that's half the population?
So, three things very briefly. Number one, you do it by not deliberately targeting civilian targets and schools and hospitals and cemeteries and mosques and universities and churches. You don't have snipers shooting at hospitals or Christian women inside a church. That's how you avoid the casualties. Number two, I don't accept the premise of your question that this is the way to defeat Hamas. I think even if I'm an Israeli hawk, I criticize Netanyahu and say, this is not the way to defeat Hamas. This is actually absurd to think you can defeat Hamas in this way. We have countless episodes from history that show us this is not how you defeat a guerrilla movement, a resistance movement, a terror group, as you say, whatever words you want to use. In fact, you have Israeli generals saying this can't be done in this way. And number three, look, the reality is Hamas is a symptom of the problem. As long as you treat Hamas as a problem rather than as a symptom of the problem, you're never going to get rid of Hamas. Or if you do, by some fantasy means, get rid of Hamas, you'll just get another version of Hamas. Because now you've got tens of thousands of orphans, you've got people who've lost their kids, their spouses, their siblings. What, you think they're not going to fight back in the years to come? You think they're not going to take revenge?
That's how I feel.
It's absolute madness to believe.
Over the years, Israel showed you many times that they're not interested in peace. Leave Gaza. Forget Hamas for a second. The West Bank. What have they been doing in the West Bank? The illegal settlements did not stop a single day.
And it's completely wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is,
it's wrong. I agree with you.
But you see what they're doing in the West Bank right now? They are creating little Gazas. They are creating little Gazas.
Yeah.
And until they are like squeeze them.
It's completely wrong.
There is a hilarious documentary called The Wanted 18. It is like an Israeli-Palestinian co-production. And it tells about the incredible story about the residents of Beit Sahur. It's a Palestinian town next to the Nazareth. And they said they don't want to depend on the milk coming from the kibbutz. So they bought 18 cows. 18 cows. And they didn't know how to milk the cows or have a cow farm. So they were like engineers and doctors. So they sent people to kind of like to learn how to do the farm. So they bought the cows and they started to produce milk and they started to sell the milk to the villages. The Israeli authorities were not very comfortable. So one day the military government came in and was like, those cows, and I quote, constitutes an existential threat to the national security of the state of Israel. You need to get rid of them. And the movie goes about like the hilarious attempts of hiding those cows between the butchers and the houses. And in one scene, a cow is actually running and the Israeli soldiers are like running behind it and they corner it and they're about to kill it. And you know what did the cow say? You didn't fall for this, cows don't speak. Yeah! But you know, it actually said something. You know what did it say? It said Hamas. But anyways. But you see, this is the ideology of the Israeli ruling, but they are not interested. They're not even allowing you to get your own cows.